Welcome to Main and Wall. I'm Lauren Magarino.
I'm Chris Wynn, live in Atlanta. Homeowners can now assess the risk of climate disaster before buying a home.
It's a new feature from Zillow that aligns with real estate trends and the rise of climate concerns. And the announcement comes as two hurricanes, Helene and Milton, left behind devastation in Florida and other parts of the Southeast. According to a recent survey by the real estate giant, more than 80% of buyers now consider climate risk when purchasing a home. Flood risk, followed by wildfires, ranked as top concerns.
Joining us now is Uri Man. He's a real estate developer and the founder and CEO of the Lagoon Development Company. Uri, as we mentioned earlier, this new feature for homeowners is to evaluate the climate risk before purchasing a home. Comes on the heels of hurricanes Helene and Milton, and over the last few weeks, we've seen thousands of homes destroyed. So, going back years ago to hurricanes Katrina and Ida, why is there now a growing concern in climate for buyers?
Well, people are looking at these property tours and they're wondering if they need to bring a life jacket. I mean, what's going on is really crazy. These storms have been very intense. And of course, nobody wants to buy a home that doubles as a flotation device. They don't want to be swimming in their kitchen. And the new climate data is really important, especially to people who are millennials. And these folks, Generation Z, they're looking at this data and saying, hey, I want to live in peace and quiet. It's less important for me to have an ocean view, and I don't want to worry about the ocean being in my living room. So what's happening now is that people are really shifting towards buying new homes, and that's why you continue to see another reason why the home builders are seeing record sales. People want to be in new homes and new communities because these old communities that are maybe close to downtown that have homes built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, those are the homes that are most likely to be destroyed during a storm. I was talking to developers in Houston, Maple Development and Starwood Land Tejas. These folks are seeing record lot sales and home sales because their new master plan communities are actually designed to make sure that when storms come in, when flooding occurs, the streets are used as drainage to make sure all the water leaves and the homes don't actually flood. In fact, the biggest developer in Houston, Land Tejas, they have 14 active communities. In the last two storms, they had no communities, absolutely none, had any home flooding. Wow. So people are shifting away from these older homes to new homes in master plan communities.
I mean, the fact that you can see, the trend shifting, and you mentioned just generationally, Gen Z being really at the helm, if you will, of really taking this into account. They're not the only ones, of course, but I'm curious, how does this affect, the property value as a whole, especially with those Gen Z buyers that, it's quite the task to go ahead and purchase to begin with?
Yeah, you're going to see homes that are newer in these communities that are designed to deal with flooding. They're going to sustain better values than older homes that have been built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I mean, look, the United States today, with all our resources, we shouldn't have people living in homes that were built in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Those homes we need to get rid of them, and we need cities, local cities, to pass laws to allow for development so that we can have more affordable, more attainable housing built for our residents. So when you look at the devastation that happens, most of the devastation usually is older homes that are not built with modern building codes. And there are cities and places where there's been a lot of new laws that have been passed recently to allow for more development. But that's really the only way we're going to get around this, because new construction typically is not that affected by these storms. You normally see those types of buildings withstanding even category 3, 4s, and 5s.
Yeah, and we're already seeing these disasters really change the way people think about home ownership, especially in areas that are prone to climate risks. What are you hearing from prospective home buyers?
The home buyers are looking for new homes and new communities. Today there's incessant demand for housing because we really have 3 to 4 million missing housing units in the United States. And they're looking for better quality homes where they have peace of mind that they're not going to have any impact by large storms. Of course, if you're in the Sun Belt, pretty much anywhere, Florida, Texas, there are going to be hurricanes. There are going to be tropical storms that are going to cause damage. But if you buy in a new community, you're more likely to have less worry and could be able to live in peace of mind in that house.
I mean, I'm going to bring up, because I know you're in Miami Beach. I'm from South Florida as well. And I know when Hurricane Andrew came through in Category 5 hurricane, it completely changed the building code basically, and really helped kind of, as you're mentioning, update the building so it's safer. But at the end of the day, Miami Beach still, it gets flooded, Brickell, all these areas. So, I mean, how far can new builds really go when you're in these areas that really, like you said, the hurricanes are going to come, and at the end of the day, the rest of the infrastructure isn't holding up?
Yeah. Right now, there's too much value that could potentially be at risk. So cities will make decisions, tough choices to make improvements to make sure they can get rid of flooding. In the city of Miami Beach, for example, they have tremendous drainage systems, new vaults that have been created to get rid of floodwaters. And it is working for the most part. And now the city of Miami is considering building a wall around downtown to prevent floodwaters from entering the city. So there are solutions. What ends up happening is these municipalities tend to react very slowly until there's dramatic change that requires emergency action. But there are a lot of smart minds behind it, and eventually the problems will be solved. You would think that because of these storms, actually, the values in coastal areas would go down, but that's not really been the case. There's tremendous demand for people to live with an ocean view, and they're still preferring an ocean view and not worried about the ocean being in their backyard. Nobody wants their backyard to become an Olympic-sized swimming pool, but it's so far not really affecting demand for coastal cities and people, and even insurance companies. And if you look at the rates and banks providing loans, you got a lot of experts on the mortgage side of banks, and they would not be lending 30-year mortgages if they weren't looking at the data and thinking that this house would no longer be livable in 10 to 20 years.
And
so the data doesn't support limiting development so far in these coastal areas.
Well, Uri Man, founder and CEO of the Lagoon Development Company, thank you so much for your time, your insight. We appreciate it.